Do you remember when Regulation D was announced and we were all like, oh my god, finally, we can use all the Hisuian Pokemon. We were waiting for so long. I can't wait to use Hisuian Braviary. And then the only one that was any good was Ursaluna, and everybody just ran Urshifu Tornadus. Yeah, so we don't have that problem anymore. Regulation H, I think, is finally for Hisuian Pokemon. H is for Hisui. Should be in the thumbnail if I made a really funny children's book looking thumbnail. Hopefully I did. Say congratulations in the comments or something. Anyway, this is going to be kind of a cheap and greasy video. I just want to get it out there. I just want to talk. And if you want to hear me yap, then welcome. You're in the right place. So we're just going to talk about all the Hisuian Pokemon. I feel like a lot of them are going to be way better than they've ever been. And, you know, that's going to be true for a lot of Pokemon. I feel like it's especially true for these Hisuian Pokemon that have not really ever had a chance to shine because they've been outshined by all of the legendary Pokemon getting introduced the same time they did. So, we're going to start at the very top of this list. They are in no particular order. First of all, rest in peace, Enamorus. You would have loved Regulation H. Much love to you. Alright, Hisuian Arcanine has actually had its chance to sign. It was really good. But I think it can be good again. I mean, obviously, it has Intimidate. It can still do Choice Band, Terra Normal, Extreme Speed stuff. It's just got a really deep move pool. Just kind of like regular Arcanine, you know, we've got like all of our Will-O-Wisps, we've got our Flare Blitzes, we've got Roar, which is a really fun move. It's basically just regular Arcanine, but it hits really hard, and it's a really good Pokemon, I think. Now, Incineroar is around too, and maybe, you know, Incineroar will kind of outshine Hisuian Arcanine, but if you want an Incineroar that is way more offensive, you have Hisuian Arcanine, and I think, you know, that's pretty great. Fire coverage is really good right now. There's a lot of Steel types running around. I guess mainly we're talking about Goldengo for Hisuian Arcanine, but Goldengo does not want to deal with it. Though I guess Make It Rain is neutral, so I don't know. I guess it depends. I actually think that Hisuian Arcanine might be worse than it was in Reg D, which is a little bit funny. Avalugg. Avalugg is, you know, it's really slow. And honestly, that's going to work in its favor. It's slower than both Ursalunas. So, like, honestly, if you want to just beat Ursaluna, you can just run Loaded Dice Icicle Spear Hisuian Avalugg and probably KO the crap out of any Ursaluna you come into. Very funny. Also, its defense stat is 184, so body press from this thing, even with barely any investment, is going to do just, like, chunks, and that's really, really funny to me. Braviary. Oh, my God. Bro, I don't know what they did, but somehow they made Hisuian Braviary an absolute monster in this format, okay? Here's the thing. Size Spam is really good right now because there's not as many Dark types because we don't have the Ruinous Pokemon, you know, we don't have any of the Dark type legendary Pokemon. We basically just have Incineroar, okay? And Hisuian Braviary has this ability, Tinted Lens, which basically says that if a Pokemon resists your attack, it doesn't, which is very funny. All of those Steel types we were just talking about, all those Goldengos, all those Arcalodons, they now take Expanding Force neutrally. So you set up your Psychic Terrain, you set up a Trick Room, and then you just Terra Psychic Expanding Force. Now, obviously, Braviary is a flying type Pokemon, so normally it does not touch the ground and get the full benefit of Expanding Force. But if you're on Terra Psychic, or you're on like Gravity, or like an Iron Ball or something, you'll touch the ground, you can click that Expanding Force. It's got a decent special attack stat, and honestly, it's just doing chunks of things, and I think that's really cool. It's a niche that we've never really seen filled before, and now that the power level is just a little bit lower, Hisuian Braviary is here to fill that niche, and I think that's really, really cool. Hisuian Decidueye as well seems to have had a very similar glow up. Basically, it's one of the best fighting type Pokemon in the format somehow. Like, somebody in my Discord was talking about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't really believe in Hisuian Decidueye. And then it started doing good in Limitless tournaments, and now I understand the vision. You see, Hisuian Decidueye has Scrappy, which means that it can even hit Goldengo for super effective damage with triple arrows, because Scrappy lets all of its fighting and normal type moves hit ghost type Pokemon, and it makes it immune to Intimidate, which is really cool. And since triple arrows is a really stupid move, it has boosted crit, it has 50% chance to lower the opponent's defense by 1, and a 30% chance to flinch. Why does this move have so many effects and still be 100% accurate? Like, I don't understand why they made this move. If anything else ever gets triple arrows, it's going to be absolutely stupid broken. But if you're on a Scope Lens, that makes it a 50% chance to crit, 50% chance to lower the defense by 1 stage, 30% chance to flinch, and also Hisuian Decidueye gets a surprising amount of just like utility. I mean, obviously you can run Leaf Blade, which will also have a 50% chance to crit, which is really cool. It gets Haze for some reason. I don't know why it gets Haze, but it gets Haze, so it's really good into Dondozo. On top of, you can just crit Leaf Blade the Dondozo. It gets Coaching. It gets Defog, which is really funny. Well, you'll understand why I mentioned Defog more in a second here. I have some mons that I think are going to be really cool. You can just run Roost, which is neat. Sucker Punch. Synthesis. It gets Tailwind. It gets Taunt. It gets U-Turn. It just gets a lot of utility moves, honestly, and this is kind of going to be the first format where it's good, I think, which is really, really cool. Next up, we have Hisui and Electrode. Hisui and Electrode, it's niche now, because obviously we got Hisui and Electrode the same time as Regieleki. And why the heck would you run Regieleki, or why the heck would you run Hisui and Electrode if it's just worse Regieleki, and Regieleki's not even good? Well, now, we don't have any Flutter Mains, we don't have any Iron Bundles, we don't have any Regielekis. Hisui and Electrode is de facto the fastest mon in the format. It's faster than Dragapult. In fact, it's so much faster than Dragapult that you can run not max speed investment and just dump a little bit into bulk, which is nice. So it is the fastest Electro Wave user, which is really neat. Volt Switch, Taunt. It gets this new move, Chloroblast, which is really a weird move. I don't know if you would want to run on your Hisuian Electrode. It gets T-Wave, which is really nice. It gets Bullet Seed, which you can use for funny Choice Scarf Annihilate strategies. You can run Scarf Annihilate next to Hisuian Electrode and Bullet Seed yourself, which is really, really funny. It's really stupid, but it's really funny. It gets Screech, which can be useful for, just like physical attackers. I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential. Maybe we'll make a team with it. I feel like it can do a lot. Goodra. Goodra was good before. It's going to be good again. Why? Because Acid Art and Body Press is great when you're Steel Dragon type, one of the best defensive types in the game. There are going to be a lot of fighting types. That's okay. You can just Terra to Fairy. You can Terra to Ghost. You can ignore those fighting types. In fact, if you boost your defenses enough times, you can ignore those fighting types anyway. Honestly, without, Urshifu around, I feel like you don't even really need to run Shell Armor, though you can if you want to. You can run Sap Sipper and start boosting your attack and run physical moves if you want. You can run Gooey and it can just be like a weird speed control Pokemon. I threw Flamethrower on this set, obviously because the same reason I threw Flamethrower on the Coma O set from the Coma O video. It's just to hit Goldengo. Otherwise, you have no way to hit Goldengo. But it gets Curse. You can boost your defense and your attack at the same time. Gyro Ball is pretty good. You're pretty slow. You're not the slowest, but you're pretty damn slow. Especially if you're gonna run a Curse set. I feel like that's pretty good. You can run special moves. You can run Draco Meteor. You can run Life Dew. You can run. Just really, you get all the coverage you could ever want. Choose your pick. Pick your choice. You know what I mean? I feel like it can do a lot, and it probably will at some point. Lilligant. Now Lilligant has been good pretty consistently, honestly, on any Torkoal team. Well, now Torkoal is probably even better because we don't have any Kyogres. Obviously, there are a lot of rain teams. There's a lot of Pelipper running around still, which is kind of sad. But Hisuian Lilligant outspeeds most things even without the weather up. So, honestly, it's still going to be pretty decent outside of weather. You get Sleep Powder, you get Rage Powder, you get After You, you get Close Combat just for hitting all those Steel types that I was just talking about. There's so many good Steel type Pokemon in the format. It gets Encore, which is really funny. Pollen Puff's a really good move. You get Coaching, which is really neat. Triple Axle is really neat. Victory Dance is a really, really good move. It's basically just physical Quiver Dance. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is a Pokemon that can do a lot, and honestly, it probably will at some point. Somebody's going to figure it out. Overqwil. Now, we obviously saw Overqwil do a ton next to Kyogre at NAIC, which is really cool. I feel like it can do more now. It just hits harder. The Pokemon in the format are less bulky than they are in Regulation G, so Overqwil just hits even harder, and there's already so many rain teams running around. This is an easy Swift Swim Pokemon that you can slot into any Pelipper Palafin team, and honestly, it's not that big of a deal because it doesn't share any weaknesses with your Palafin or your Pelipper. I think that's pretty cool. It does get water coverage. You can run Terra Water if you want. Honestly, maybe we even just run Terra Blast on the set that I made. I just thought Destiny Bond would be funny if you thought it was going to get KO'd because it's going to be so fast. And maybe you don't run Destiny Bond on a Choice Band set, but it is what it is. It gets a lot of support moves too. You can run Icy Wind, you can run Taunt, you can run Toxic, which is really neat. All these things you could run on an Intimidate set, or you could keep it fast support with Swift Swim. Very, very neat stuff. And that brings me to Hisuian Quillfish. I like Hisuian Quillfish. I wish it was good. Maybe it'll be good now. Obviously, it gets all the same tools that Overqwil does, but it's bulkier because it's Quillfish, and you can run Pain Split, which I think is just funny. I don't know. I'm always trying to run Pain Split on these random Eviolite mons because one day it'll be good. They gave Pain Split to all these Pokemon, and by God, am I going to try to use them. Pain Split, Alolan Muck never, or Alolan Grimer never worked out, but maybe Quillfish can do it. It's got, you know, a relatively low HP stat. It's got decent bulk. I mean, honestly, like these are probably pretty decent stats that you can get away with. I don't know. I just want something that got Pain Split randomly to use it is really all I want. I want it to be more than just Dusclops. Ursaluna, obviously Ursaluna is still good. I saw somebody post on Twitter that they accidentally gave their Ursaluna 252 special attack instead of attack, and it was still OHKOing things with Facade, which is absolutely insane. This Pokemon is just a big bundle of stats. It's a great Trick Room Sweeper. You probably don't even have to run max attack. You can just run like enough attack and then run a ton of special defense. Make it really, really bulky. Guts boosted Facade with Stab is just an absolutely insane 3 things for them to give us. Obviously, Ursaring has always had it, but Ursaring doesn't hit as hard as Ursaluna does. Wyrdeer. This is the only Pokemon that I looked at, and I was like, you know, maybe Wyrdeer isn't good. Maybe Wyrdeer is the one Hisuian Pokemon that we can't do anything with, but it gets a lot of interesting moves. I mean, obviously having Skill Swap and Intimidate on the same Pokemon is a really interesting niche. You can Skill Swap the Intimidate onto your opponent and trigger your own, like, Defiant or Competitive or something, which is really neat, but it's just not enough. I don't know. I feel like other Pokemon do what Wyrdeer does, just infinitely better. Obviously, I have tried many times, but it does get Gravity and Hypnosis on one Pokemon, which is also a niche. I don't know. Maybe you can do something with that. It's hard to say. Typhlosion. Typhlosion is definitely better than it's ever been. Obviously, like I said, there's a lot of Pelipper running around, so be wary. But this is a Pokemon that is relatively fast, that can click Eruption, that cannot be faked out, and that is something that you should not underestimate. That is a very powerful set of things. Every time I face a Hisuian Typhlosion, it's been very scary. Because really, the only relevant Flash Fire mod in the format right now is Armarouge. And if you're not playing Indeedee Armarouge, then I haven't seen that much Armarouge. I've seen a lot of Psy Spam, but I haven't seen really that much Armarouge, so it's very interesting to think about. But yeah, there's just because it's fast Eruption, like that's relatively strong, and you can set the sun next to it. I mean, obviously we still have Whimsicott with Sunny Day and Tailwind. You can just run a Torkoal if you want. We can run Jumpluff Sun with Typhlosion. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like it can just do a lot. Frisk is a really good ability for best of 1 strats. If you're running open team sheets, just run Blaze. Blaze is really cool too. You know, if you have low HP, you do more damage. It can be good sometimes. All right, we're gonna get into some entry hazard stuff. Here, hear me out, okay? I have played enough really long and positioning heavy games in Regulation H that I think it's time for entry hazards in VGC. Like I said, I've played enough of them that I honestly think that Spikes might be kind of good and Stealth Rocks might be kind of good. So we're gonna talk about Samurott. I think I forgot to put Kleavor on here, but we'll add Kleavor at the end. We're gonna talk about both of them because Ceaseless Edge is a base 65 dark type move that gets boosted by sharpness, so like it's a decently strong move, and it sets a layer of spikes. And that's pretty cool. That's free spikes. And then you can, you know, you have sharpness, you can Aqua Cutter, you can Sacred Sword, protect. And then you want to clear Emulate, and we don't care about Incineroar. In fact, Incineroar gets absolutely demolished by our Aqua Cutter, I bet. And I don't know, maybe Hisuian Samurott's pretty good. I mean, it's good in a Psy Spam, it's good into Goldengo because it resists Make It Rain, it resists Shadow Ball, and it hits Goldengo for super effective damage. If you can KO a Goldengo with Ceaseless Edge and get free spikes, I feel like that's a win. I feel like that's pretty neat. I don't know, is it going to be great? I absolutely have no idea. Maybe I will test it myself, but I think for the first time in a long time, it's at least worth considering. It kind of does almost the same thing that Gallade does on Psy Spam teams, but without having to be on a Psy Spam team, and I think that's neat. Hisui and Zoroark I've already faced a few times, and it can be very scary. You get a Nasty Plot up, and you start clicking Hyper Voice, and this is a very scary Pokemon. And it's less obvious when you're disguised now, because there's not restricted Pokemon. You can't go, oh, obviously it's disguised as the restricted Pokemon. Like, it's a little bit harder, and I feel like in a lower power format, like, maybe its stats are good enough that, like, that surprise is really, really gonna matter. and you're going to catch somebody off guard, and you're going to beat the crap out of them because you caught them off guard. It does get a lot of other moves. Like Bitter Malice is a cool move. I wish Bitter Malice was a spread move, kind of. I don't know why I thought it was a spread move, but if it was a spread move, it would be absolutely busted. It gets Icy Wind. It also gets Pain Split. I believe it gets Will-O-Wisp. It gets Tricks. You could like Trick Scarf or something. Taunt's really good. Imprison's really neat. You can imprison a lot of moves they wouldn't expect you to. Snarl's a good move. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things you can do with this Pokemon that, like, you know, we'll figure them out. Maybe it'll never be good in, like, real format, but in, like, best of one singles, sometimes that's all you need. Sneasler. Now, Sneasler has seen a little bit of usage, but I feel like now that we need fighting types for all of these steel types, it's probably way better than before, even. Sneasler is so fast that if you trigger your Unburden, you don't really have to run any speed. And obviously, Rillaboom is so popular right now, you can just run Grassy Seed. You might not even need your own Rillaboom to get it off. It gets Fake Out, it gets Dire Claw. Obviously, Dire Claw is a stupid busted move. 50% chance of sleep. Well, 50% chance to do a status, and then 1 out of 3 times it'll be Sleep, Poison, or Paralysis, which is really neat. It gets Coaching, which is cool. It gets, obviously, Close Combat. It gets a lot of Dark-type coverage, so good again into that Goldengo, maybe. You get Taunt. You get Toxic. You get U-Turn. You can run it like fast with Acid Spray, which is neat. I don't know that we have a good Pokemon to set terrain for Acid Spray right now, but it's something you can do. Leer is really cool. Quick Guard's really cool. It might get Upper Hand. It does get Upper Hand, which is really cool. I don't know. I feel like you can do a lot. Faint's really good. I saw Faint when I was scrolling up there. It just has a lot of utility. It hits really hard. It's really fast. Like, anytime you have an Unburdened Pokemon like this, you got to be thinking, can I take advantage of this? And yeah, I mean, really, the only terrain setters we have are Psychic Terrain and Grassy Terrain. But, I don't know. I feel like you can do something with it. Basculegion. Basculegion is going to be way better. I mean, obviously, it saw some play on Reg D. But, again, it got outshined by Urshifu. Urshifu is such a good Pokemon that it outshined, like, almost all of the Hisuian Pokemon on any team. But I feel like now, especially, again, with all these rain teams running around, this is a Pokemon that you can very easily slot onto any, like, Pelip or Palafin team and just have a Basculegion. It hits really hard with Wave Crash. It can hit really hard with Last Respects in your end game. It gets Priority, gets Aqua Jet, and it might also get Shadow Sneak. I'm not sure. I guess not. I thought it did. Let's see. No Shadow Sneak. Okay. It doesn't get Poltergeist either, so really the only Ghost type coverage you get is Last Respects, but a lot of the time, that's going to be enough. You can run Icy Wind for, like, speed control. If you want to run Female Basculegion, you get Muddy Water. You get Shadow Ball. Lots and lots of coverage on this mon, which is really nice. And even you don't have to run a Swift Swim set. You could run like a slower team, a Tailwind team, or a Trick Room team, and you can just run like Adaptability. And now your Wave Crash hits as hard as it would in the rain, basically, without any rain up, which is really neat. And then lastly here, I want to say this is the last one. Hopefully I didn't forget any Hisuian Pokemon. But we have Kleavor, who also gets Sharpness, which is really cool. And it also gets Stone Axe, which is also boosted by Sharpness, and it sets up free Stealth Rocks, which is really cool. You also get Sacred Sword? No. What else do you get that's boosted by Sharpness, though? I didn't get a chance to look. It gets Tailwind, which is really funny. The whole Scyther line gets Tailwind, which is very interesting. X-Scissor is boosted by Sharpness, so that's pretty neat. That's a stab move that you can run. You do get Fighting Coverage. I mean, it doesn't feel as good as Hisui and Samurott, but obviously it probably hits a little bit harder, so that's really cool. You can run a Clear Amulet on this dude too if you want. It's just a different Pokemon that does different things. So, like, really, you could make the argument that Stealth Rocks are going to be a little bit better than Spikes, but I don't know. I guess it depends on how many layers of Spikes you think you're going to get up. But yeah, it's just a really good Pokemon, I think. I mean, obviously on any, like, Tailwind team, you can just, like, Tailwind into this absolutely ridiculously strong Rock Slide with 135 base attack. Run a little bit of speed. Bam. Bam, like that's gonna hit like a truck. And you can run Close Combat on it, which is cool. It's kind of sad that it doesn't have too many moves that are boosted by Sharpness. I guess you can run Sheer Force, and Sheer Force will boost your Rock Slide, but it will negate the secondary effect of Stone Axe, so there's no reason to run it. And then X-Scissor doesn't get boosted at all. I mean, what could you even run it besides X-Scissor? Lunge, I guess, becomes a pretty strong move if you run Sheer Force. That's cool. I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do. You could run like a Trailblaze set where you get that +1, then you start outspeeding things. It doesn't feel as obviously good as some of the other Pokemon on this list, but obviously it's going to be better than it's ever been, I think. And that's really cool. But hopefully you enjoyed my my nonsensical little rant through all of these Hisuian Pokemon. I just wanted to talk about them. I feel like a lot of them haven't really gotten a chance to shine because they got dropped the same time Urshifu and Tornadus did. And now that we don't have Urshifu and Tornadus, and we don't have, all the other legendary Pokemon that they gave us at the same time, maybe they can do a lot more. And I'm excited to see them do a lot more. Maybe I'll go make a Hisuian Samurott team right now. I don't know. I feel like it can do a lot. But with that, everybody, go ahead down in the comments. Leave your comments. Do you think Hisuian Pokemon are any good? Do you want me to talk about any other Pokemon specifically? Leave those down in the comments. And subscribe. If you're not subscribed, you're missing out on videos. You probably haven't even watched all of them. What are you doing? But with that, everybody, my name's Andrew. I'll catch you guys next time. Once upon a time, man, I heard that I was struggling. Came from a gen where power creep wasn't coming in. Face long, stats tight, defense up, shack height. Sturdy on me, sash like, got the TM last night. Hit me with that good move, make this mount act right. Bast boys, better hit that builder. I know that's right. Big Bast busting out these body presses, bout to buy a body bag and